Today's episode is a very special one because it marks the beginning of my new series titled A Discourse With, where I talk with independent creators and discuss about their journey. This first episode features Blesson Varghese, a freelance visual identity creator who designs with attention to detail. Goes by the username at BlessCreatix on Instagram. He has also the distinct credibility of starting two very popular hashtag trends that has now amassed followers in the thousands. I hope you like this new series. Enjoy. This video is a small excerpt from the full interview, which you can find on my podcast, Wouldn't You Know It? Available wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right. So, first of all, thank you very much, Asit. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to, have me on board. And I'm really looking forward to talk more about the journey because it's always good and it's always entertaining and fun and knowledgeable to talk about the journey. And, as you mentioned, like we all talk about I don't think I am anywhere successful enough to call myself anywhere, but I would say that the journey that I've had for the past 4 or 5 years has been amazing, and I'm so grateful and thankful to God for what I do and what I get to do every day. I wake up every day and I'm looking forward to work. That is something that not many of the people, or probably young guys my age, don't have. So I'm very much thankful and mindful about that. And yeah, I would like to talk about whatever stuff that you would like to discuss, and probably share some bit of value here and there.
Yes, of course, sure. So let's begin with your beginnings. Like, how did you end up in the design field? Like, is it something you wanted from the start? Is it something you thought of pursuing while you were in college or in school? So how did you come here? Like, what all small things happened in your life that made you tilt towards the design instead of going in India, especially everyone is after engineering or medical. So this is a completely different line, right? So what made you go this way?
Absolutely. Yeah, so just a bit of background for people, those who are listening, that I did my graduation in BBA. I hold a graduation in Bachelor's in Business Administration. That's the only educational degree I have other than my school education. And so while I was on I think fifth semester. So how things work here is, obviously people might relate that you have campus placements in your fifth semester.
Yes.
So I appeared for the campus placements, just usual stuff, like I wasn't looking for placements and things like that. To be very honest, I wanted to be a doctor. I know it sounds very strange, but
it is common. It is quite common.
Yeah, it's the same common theology that people have in India, and common perception regarding career or profession choice, just as you mentioned, doctor, engineer, things like that. So for some reason I wanted to be a doctor, and I took biology in my 11th standard, and few months in I figured out this is not for me. This is absolutely not for me. I am never going to pass this out. Forget about MBBS. I was finding it hard to even pass out my class tests, or let's say half yearly exams, things like that. So it was things like
just
these
a quick
circumstances.
question. How much did you actually score?
So in my 11th annual exam, before that I was a very average kid. I wasn't too bad, I wasn't too good, I was average. I used to pass out my exams like first division, 60%. I was good, I wasn't too bad at it. But 11th standard messed it all up, like real bad. And I just couldn't cope up. I also shifted my school. That was also one of the reasons, you don't get to really cope up with the changes. Anyway, 11th standard I passed out like with somewhere around 51%, and 12th standard got a little better, and I scored somewhere around, I think, 61% or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, that's still a good score to go with. So I passed out school, and soon after I passed out, I knew I can't go to MBBS, man. I just can't do MBBS. Like, I had so many examples from people around me, from people those who I know, my relatives, those who were doing MBBS and things like that. I just knew I just wasn't made for that. And obviously I opted for PMT examination, but I didn't appear for that because I wasn't really keen to get to MBBS. Anyway, me with my parents decided that I'll be going for some other course, and that's where I jumped upon BBA for some weird reason, because it seemed like a very general course. It's not too much focused on any subject, but it's a very general perspective. Anyway, so I did my BBA. Fifth semester, I appeared for the campus placements, and I got campus placements in the two companies. One was TCS, and obviously it was for the backend.
That's where I work now.
Yeah, yeah. So I got one in TCS. I believe it was in Nagpur TCS, and one in I think it was called some sort of I don't remember the name. It was in Bangalore. Anyway, point being, two companies got placed for two companies, but probably everybody knows that if you don't have all clear for your 6 semesters,
Yes.
The job offer gets
Rejected.
it is no more valid.
It's no.
So I was all clear for like all my 5 semesters. For my 6th semester, I got a back for one subject, and that for 3 marks. How horrible that can be. I applied for
Who was that teacher?
rechecking and things like that. Yeah,
was that
did
teacher?
everything, but it just didn't work out. And I had to, the last option was I had to wait for the next 6 months, wait for the next round of exams. And anyway, campus placement gone. I was waiting for my next round of exams, just one subject. Can you imagine? Like, one subject. I'm waiting just for that one subject.
Their
I have
entire life
everything
ahead
else
is
cleared out.
dependent on that one subject.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That one subject. And I'm here waiting at my home, just studying that one subject. How can you study the one subject for 6 months? Anyway, I had a little bit of interest in design. Obviously, you have no idea when you do school that there are other career opportunities other than engineering and MBBS and things like that, because our schools literally don't teach anything.
In India they don't talk about this stuff.
They don't talk about it. It's a very taboo topic. It's a very I don't know why, but they don't even mention things outside the mainstream media. I believe things are getting better, because I can see my younger brothers, when they study more about art and things like that, and music and things like that. So I believe that in the coming next 5 to 10 years the things will get better. But the condition right now, even, it's very scary, to be very honest, because we don't teach other than just the scholastic education.
Yes, definitely.
So I had a little bit of interest in design. I used to do business cards and things like that in PowerPoint. Microsoft PowerPoint. Mind that.
So that's another talent you have.
I didn't even know that there's something called Photoshop. Anyway, I just stumbled upon it on internet, probably on YouTube and things like that, and I said, why not try my hands on it? And that's where I discovered this world of graphic design, and there are people who are doing it full time. That's their job. That is what they do for the living. And I was blown away, because there was something very new for me, and I always knew that there is something creative in me. I could, you can sense that when you know that, right?
Once you see
I
this
believe
colors,
that you
design,
can also sense that, because you are working, but then again you have a lot of passion and you have a lot of the knowledge and interest in design. So it was the same case with me, and I just somehow ended up looking up online things and tutorials and learning, because I had so much of time. I thought, why not use it productively? And that's how I started my Instagram account, which is right now Bless Creatics. I just started out randomly, like for fun, for just to try out things. Let's just do something, sort of. And that's my starting story. That's how I started out. I didn't intend to be a designer. I had no idea that you can be a designer. Not like when I was 5 years old, I saw someone designing this and I said, this is what I want to be. No,
I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah, exactly. So things like that. So that's my brief story of how I started out, and probably we'll talk more about it.
So what was your parents' reaction during this? Like, it is typical of of parents in
Yep.
India to be very concerned, like especially when you have got a job offer and it was
Yeah.
rejected for that one subject. So what was your
Yeah.
parents' reaction? Like, how did he react when you told that I'll jump to the design career, I'll switch to
Yeah.
this one?
So yeah, I'll talk about it. So when I lost my that job offer, so parents were like, "All right." So I am very blessed with such supporting and positive parents that I always say that to everybody else as well. That it's a very um, big positive mindset that you have when you have people surrounded when you are surrounded by people those are very positive about you, supportive about you.
Yes, yes.
Obviously you mess up, everybody messes up, and that's not the case that you shouldn't mess up. Everybody messes up, but the thing is, when you're surrounded by such people, you get that motivation, you get that boost. And my parents were very much supportive, but when things came down to design and things like doing something of your own, they were very skeptical about it. Obviously, any parent would
Yeah,
be
they,
when we
they would
talk
have
about
never
Indian
seen
parents.
this in
Any
their
parent would.
lifetime, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started doing this, they were like, "All right, yeah, you do it for fun. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You have to appear for the exams, so prepare for exams. But also, if you're finding it interesting, just do it. What's wrong with that?"
Yeah.
Anyway, and 6 months in, I appeared for the exams and I cleared that.
Oh.
But by that time, I was very much interested in design, and now I wanted to get deep. That's where I mentioned it to my parents that this is what I want to do. I want a little bit of time before I decide, probably for the higher education, because BBA, after BBA, it's typical that you do
Yeah,
MBA.
yeah.
So I said just a little bit of time, and by that time I worked so hard. I did my level best that I can do something that can prove it to them that this might work, something like that. So I was just day in day out, I was just hustling hard. That's what hustling is called, I think. I was just grinding it day in day out, trying to put up as much work as possible, trying to learn as much as possible, and
Yes.
basics and theories and all of these things. And mind this, that I don't have yet any income to pay for any sort of course or any sort of online resources that are paid, because usually that's what happens.
Yes, yes,
The
of
quality
course.
education, they are paid, but I didn't have that, so I used all these free resources available online. By God's grace, within like 2 months or so, I got my first client, and I was like, this is so good. And I told my parents, but they were like, okay, fine, but
Just
do
got
you really
one.
think, yeah, you just got one, do you really think that you can survive with these things? And but my father was very supportive. He always had this, he always told me this, and he even keeps me saying this, like, it's way better to do something of your own than to go for a 9 to 5 job.
Yes. Of
So
course.
I always had that push from him, like, do something. And when he saw me doing something on my own, he was very supportive of that. So I got that extra boost from him, and I kept going, and just started getting few more client projects, and regularly it started coming in. I started spending more time, taking it more seriously. And when at that point of time, my parents were like, all right, so if you think this is a good path, why don't you look for some sort of courses, like on offline design courses, like if there's some sort of master's degree for design or things like that, why don't you pursue that?
You have to
I
go
just found
Europe.
out that there's yeah,
You have to go
absolutely
Europe for
nothing.
that.
Yeah, you would need to go abroad for all of these things, and I wasn't ready to make them spend so much
Yes.
for something that I'm not very sure of, because it's a very big investment
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
middle class family. And I didn't want it to do that. And frankly speaking, when you start earning, earning a little bit of your own, you then don't want to make your
Yeah.
parents
You get the
spend.
confidence
That's a
boost.
mentality that, yeah, so that's a mentality that I developed, and I didn't just want to make them spend. So that's how their reaction was. Even now, if you really ask me, even now they ask me this question very regularly: is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Have
So
you
they're still
decided about
thinking that you
anything?
will go back
Yep.
to the job.
Yeah, not really go back to the job perspective, but they're like, how are you, plan to take it forward? Is it you just doing because I have lots of work and I hire freelancers as well. So they're like, are you planning to make it like a permanent solution where you have employees, or are you going to do it all your own and just keep hiring freelancers and things like that?
Yes, yes.
So yeah, they are still very skeptical about things, but overall, general perspective, they're very much supportive. So I'm very much thankful to God for that.
So, right now you have got a lot of experience. I would say in designing not only logos, you are also now a visual identity creator as you identify yourself, right? So,
Yep.
when you started out and now, what is the difference in your design thinking process? Like, how did you think of a logo design or any design that you used to do? Like back when also you're doing in PowerPoint. So how did you think of
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
design? And right now, how do you think? Like you have all these tools now, iPad Pro, Apple Pencil, and whatnot. So what has
Yeah.
changed between the thought process from that time to this time?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, I would say when I look back and compare things, when I look at design, how did I used to look at it when I started out? It was just design for me. It was something that looks good, quote unquote, looks
Okay.
good. It's quite nice. It's cool. That's what I used to take it forward, and I had no idea about the ins and outs of designs and the theory behind that, the psychology behind things. I just designed that looked good,
Okay.
visually something that looks good. I found my style, but then slowly when I started learning more about the impact of design has, the impact that a design that you design for a client might have for their business, on their business,
Yes.
that's where I started learning more about it. And now if you really ask me, I find it as a problem solver for the client,
Okay.
because every client comes to you with a problem. What's the problem they have is probably they are really not finding it together to come up with a visual system or an identity system that they would like for their brand, but they come to someone like me who is good at it, and they would like my expertise on it, and I solve that for them.
Yes.
So it's more about collaborating with the client for me now. It's more about really getting on board with the project with them and really solving all of the issue with them, not really just doing my thing, but really getting on board with them. So when I work with clients, when I start out the project, I make it absolutely clear that I will be doing a lot of calls on and off, a lot of emails on and off, because I don't want to be just an order taker, somebody like, hey, can you design a logo for me? Cool, I'll pay it for you.
Fiverr
So
guys.
they'll be like, this is what we want, and then all right, so see you after 2 weeks. I'll probably expecting a logo design, and I'll deposit the money. That's not at all what I look for. I have to be very honest. I get inquiries, and somewhere around I say no to 85% of the inquiries, and I only work with 15% of the project inquiries that I have, because I like to really get on board with clients. Even if I don't have a project for a month or two, I'm perfectly okay with that. I prefer to work with clients, those who are getting on board and really collaborating. They're really interested to talk more about it, listen to you and listen to your advice, and then give their advice and give their input. So it's more of like a collaboration for me than just designing things that look good.
Okay.
And obviously the resources that I have had the opportunity to collect all these years, they help. And I'm a very much of a productivity geek, if you would ask, and I just find odd ways to do things that ease out my workflow process and things like that. So yeah. That's how my differences are to design or career of design right now.
Okay. We'll come to companies and all, but right now a quick question. You said you only accept 15% of your clients, right? So majority of them are Indian, or are they from outside India, like foreign?
So when I started out, I was very much fortunate enough to get clients, international clients.
Okay.
I don't know how. I wasn't targeting them. I wasn't looking for them, or I wasn't reaching out to them. I just got these clients, and they happen to be international clients.
Yes.
So I had this experience with international clients from the start itself. The moment I started working, my first client was from Belgium, I think. It was Belgium. He was from Belgium. And then I had clients from Australia and New Zealand and things like that. And my first Indian client actually came after a year I was into freelancing.
Oh.
So for a year, I was working with these international clients. And I heard people talking about Indian clients that they are so bad, that, they don't give you money.
Yes.
And they're not really willing to pay that much for a design. And I was like, why won't they do that? Because all the experiences that I have had are quite okay, so it's not that bad. But when I got the first Indian client inquiry, that's when I found out that they were not wrong. They were really they were really right about it. It's nobody's fault, to be very honest, because the market has been perceived in that way. Especially the Indian and African market, it's perceived that way, that budget is the biggest factor for them rather than the value that you provide.
Yes.
And it's nobody's fault. It's not designer's fault, it's not the consumer's fault or the client's fault. It's just how the structure is made. But when a designer, like, let's say, there are 10 designers, and when 9 of them charge $5 for a logo and only one of them charge $500 for a logo, obviously the client is going to go ahead with these $5. But think about this: if there are 10 designers and 9 of them charge $500 and only one of them charges $5, then things change.
Yes.
That's where the whole change happens. And I believe things will go ahead slowly. But answering your question about Indian clients, because I had experience with international clients, when I had that bad experience with Indian clients, I was like, I really shouldn't focus too much on Indian clients. And when we talk about 85% of the clients that I reject or probably set apart because they don't align with my work process, I would say only 10 to 15% of the clients are from India.
Okay.
All the other clients, among those 85%, are from international clients.
Okay. And the ones who accept, in the accept ratio?
Yeah, the ones I accept, they hardly have Indian clients, to be very honest. But recently I've had the good opportunity to work with quite amazing Indian people. But I would say from that 15%, somewhere around like 2 to 3% clients are only Indians, because that's just how it is. I can't help it. I've tried my level best to work with Indian clients and give my services, but recently I've got the opportunity to work with some of them, and it has been an amazing journey.
We'll come to companies. We have few other things to go through before we come to companies.
Yep.
So shed a light on your daily schedule. Yes, like.
Yeah, so my schedule, if you ask me,
before you start,
I don't know if
pre-COVID and this post-COVID. Let's differentiate.
To be very honest, pre-COVID and post-COVID didn't make much of difference for freelancers like me, because we have been always working from home. It's been always the normal for us. It's just that now others are finding it. Oh, this is what it looks like for a freelancer.
It is very good. It's very comfy.
So there's not much of a difference. Only difference is I live with my parents, and I have a younger brother. My youngest brother is 7-year-old. So you can imagine how things would be him having around. I have my second brother who is right now pursuing his engineering. So he's in the 4th year. So he's 20 years old. He's right now here as well because of the whole pandemic thing. So that's what has changed. I have a lot of people around me now, but they are okay understanding about that, because my parents know about this. My youngest brother knows about this. Yes. So it's okay. So my schedule, it keeps changing, to be very honest. I don't have a very set routine like Jeff Bezos or things like that. I don't have that, but I do have few routines that I follow as far as my schedule is concerned. So I'm a very devoted Christian, and if you ask me, because my father is a pastor. A pastor means a missionary, so he handles church and things, and I have been born and brought up in that family. And to be very honest, if at all anything and everything matters to me in this world, is the fact that I have been given this opportunity to be in this world and to serve the community. Yes. So that is priority for me. That is priority, and even with work things, I keep them as priority. So that's my philosophy and my ideology for life and career and things like that. So I wake up. It totally depends. I'm not a morning riser. I can't just afford that. So
That
one
has
of the
been all
also
of
reasons
us.
because yeah, also one of the reasons because I used to get up early when I was in school, but the reason one of the reasons why I now work a little late nights because everybody's around and I like to have
Yes,
that
yes.
calm and quiet
I
environment, and
completely
you can
understand.
only work. Yeah, so I hope you understand that.
Yes.
So yeah, I get up at around 8 or 9, somewhere around 9 something, 8:30 or 9 something. And yeah, I have a morning routine where I spend a little bit of time reading the Bible and meditating a bit for somewhere around like 45 minutes or so, 45, sometimes even like an hour or something. And then I jump on, because right now I have a lot of stuff going on. I have podcast, I have newsletters,
Yes.
social media, and client work, and your social media profile, portfolio things, and all of these things. So I have developed a system that helps me to keep all of these things organized. I forget a lot of things, and calendars and events are my best friend. So even like a small thing that I have to do, let's say get back to someone's email, I jot them down as in my calendar as an event, so that I get the notification that this is what you have to do. So I use the simple calendar app and I jot down everything that I have to do for that day, the previous day itself, and I just go with that. And I don't have a work structure as per se,
Yeah.
but I do follow Pomodoro timer. If nobody knows, Pomodoro timer is something that is a technique that a lot of people use. It's a very famous technique. If you Google it, you might get it. It goes like you work for 25 minutes or 30 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, and then again get back to work for 30 minutes or something. You do that cycle for 4 times, and then once the four times cycle is completed, you take a long break of somewhere like 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour.
I see.
So it's like breaking your work structure in small chunks rather than just sitting
At a stretch.
one long stretch. You break that down. So that's how I do my work. I don't have a set routine of this to this much time, because I live with my parents and you have responsibilities as an
Yes,
Indian
yes,
kid.
yes, yes.
You have to go and get groceries or go to the market and get things and all of that
People
stuff.
outside
So
India
I
won't
live with,
understand this.
yeah, they won't understand. So yeah, so that's how my routine looks like. And before I wind up somewhere around 8 or something. Officially I wind up somewhere around 8, and then after dinner and things I spend a little bit time getting back to social media and things like that. And then I just switch everything off by like 11 or something, 11 or 11:30, and I spend more time reading before I go to bed. And that's just what my routine looks like. Anywhere in the middle of the day, if I get a little bit of free time, you will see me just having my Kindle on and just reading. That's what my whole day looks like. So there's nothing interesting about my schedule. It's quite a usual schedule that I have.
People usually think successful and people get up early in the morning, sleep early at
Yeah,
night.
it's not for me. I don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah.
I think it totally depends on the preferences and the situations that you are in.
No, see,
I wouldn't mind getting.
whatever
Yeah,
the preference was before, COVID has broken everything.
absolutely. So you get the idea. You
Yes.
cannot like say that this is what I
Yes.
am or this is what I do. I'm very much flexible, and I think we all should have that sort of mentality, that we should be flexible enough and really understand what works for us. Just because someone else is doing doesn't mean that we do that. We have this influencer culture right now. We see and look
Yes.
at people doing things, and we get so much influenced about that. And yeah, I have figured out and understood that if it works for you, just go for it. Doesn't matter whatever that is.
Okay, that's really good to know. I think a lot of people look.
Yep.
We clarified that you don't need to sleep early and wake up early to have
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
healthy and good lifestyle. So yeah,
Yeah.
so this day and age social media is important, right? But we can see like Instagram and all, it has become oversaturated. So
Yep.
do you think like this oversaturated social media like Instagram, and some of them also use TikTok and Facebook, do you think, not only for designers, I'm asking as a independent creator in general, do you think it still works, or is it time to like switch to the niche platforms? Like some of the niche platforms
Yeah.
have popped up in recent times.
Yep.
So what is your opinion on that? Should we stick on the oversaturated ones, or should we jump on to the niche ones?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it because I have experience where I started on Instagram
Yes.
all from scratch, and that was my main source of clients for a very long time. So I can speak from a personal perspective and really shed some light on that and share what my personal experiences have been. This is what I have figured out, and this is what I always recommend people, that social media, you don't have control over social media at all. So it's a
Yes,
very
yes.
scary place to be, uh, because the owners and the people, those who are running this thing, they want to earn, they want to make profit. They are not there just for helping you out or something. Whatever they say, it's all marketing. It's all under that shed of marketing that people do.
Yes.
So when I started out on Instagram, it was a very good place for designers because there were very less number of designers back in 2016, 2017. It wasn't as saturated as it is right now.
Yes, yes.
Just like we have engineering colleges in like every corner of our country, I think that's what the whole structure of Instagram is right now. You have designers popping up from like every corner of that
Yes,
platform.
yes.
Like you will see, and like 40% of them are just blatantly copying somebody's work and putting it out there, to be very
Yeah,
honest,
yeah.
frankly speaking.
Recently you
So
called one out, right? Was following,
yep.
copying your
Yeah, that
work.
was horrible. That was horrible. So, to speak it from a designer's perspective or even a creator's perspective, I think it's very important that we find out what's the nature of social media platform. Right now, Instagram is very good for community building.
Yeah.
If you are someone who is focusing on building a community of anyone, let's say readers, let's say dancers, let's say creative people like videographers or photographers, things like that, or even designers, that's what I niche down in.
Yes, yes.
And it's a very good place to build a community, a personal brand. I wouldn't say it's a good place to get design clients at this point, because it's so saturated that every other inquiry or potential clients you get are just searching for the cheapest designer out there.
Yes, yes.
And guess what, there are like hundreds of designers who are charging ridiculously low than what you charge. So there's a very low percent of margin that you're gonna get spending this much of time. And I used to design only for Instagram. I used to design or post things only for Instagram and no other platform. But late in 2018, I think, yeah, I figured out that I need to get going and I need to grow my reach and how I get clients and things like that. So that's where I decided that I'll be jumping on board and getting myself a website, and also focusing more on the other platforms like Behance and Dribble.
Yeah.
So the question that you asked, I would say niching down is very much important to get work, that is client work, to get commercial projects. Niching down is very much important, but at the same point of time, social media is a necessity right now at this point. If you aren't on social media, you are really not existing.
Yeah, that's also
that's
true.
the whole truth. That's the fact. So build your presence around social media with platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Let people find you through these platforms, but use the niche down places. Like for designers, let's say it's Behance and Dribble. For motion designers and things like that, it's Vimeo and all of these things. So find out what's your niche platform where your potential clients are looking for, and use the social media to actually leverage it to those platforms. Build your presence on social media, because right now it's not just about your work, it's about who you are.
Yes.
People want to know who you are as a designer, who you are as a person. So it's not only your work that's going to get you work, but it's a collection and mixture of good amount of personal brand presence
Your
on social
personality
media.
should also reflect.
Yep, absolutely. So I would say that's what right now, as of now, works well for individuals, creative individuals. Things keep changing, and right now, what is happening to Facebook? Facebook is so saturated, you
It's
really
dying.
can't think of it as a platform to get work. That is what's going to happen with Instagram for the next 5 years. Within 5 years, we're going to talk about Instagram just as we're talking about Facebook. So that's the whole cycle. That's the whole, process that goes on. So it's just that we have to find out which platform suits us and find out a platform that is niche down. Rather than anything, have a website, have a personal website, because that is something that will never go off. You will always have control over these things. Social medias can go on and off. They are here today, they will vanish away tomorrow, but
Definitely.
websites and things that you can own will never go off. So yeah, I think that would be something that people should always keep in mind.
Do you spend more time on Netflix or YouTube?
So I am not at all a person who likes movies and things like that. I know that sounds
Okay.
very weird, but I'm not a fan of movies, especially the fiction movies. I just don't get these things. I don't know. I just feel like I'm wasting my
People have their
time.
choices. No problem.
Yeah, so that's how I am. I rarely watch movies. I only watch it if I'm with someone, and that's the only time when I watch any sort of movie. I think it's been probably like I haven't watched a movie in 2020. Can you imagine that? Can you believe that? that's
I watch a movie
that's the truth.
almost every 2 days.
Yeah, so you're a movie freak. So I don't watch movies. I don't have a Netflix subscription, so that speaks for itself.
That
I
is
don't
money saving.
have. Yeah, but I spend my money on something like Kindle subscriptions or Audible subscriptions.
They're
so
still cheaper than
it
Netflix.
evens out.
No, they're still cheaper
Yeah,
than
that's true.
Netflix.
That's true. So yeah, if you ask me, Netflix or YouTube, obviously YouTube. I spend more I don't spend at all on Netflix, so YouTube it is.
Okay. So last few questions. This one actually I have written this one because I had to frame it. So we are coming to now design situation in India. So
Okay.
we all know, like the whole world knows, Indians wants everything for
Yep.
budget,
Cheap.
like the Hindi term sasta, sundar and majboot.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe you will speak out of experience, but what I feel like is people generally focus on just delivering something. They are not usually focused on the design. I'm not just talking about like products like smartphones or anything like chairs. I'm also talking about like apps, okay, and anything that is designed like advertisements or anything. There is a certain level of emphasis on design on those foreign products, foreign ads that we see in our Indian TVs, but the same doesn't reflect in Indian companies. So do you think like due to this budget constraints that companies think that design is something that is not at all required, or do you think that Indian people in general don't care about design, so that's why no company is focusing on them?
Yeah, so I think it's a two-way process, like just as I mentioned about a designer charging $5 and the other one's charging 500. I think if you provide them, for example, if companies start providing these quality advertisements or quality products or quality apps, and once you feed these things in them, then people get used to it. Now they wouldn't be happy with the other ones. So a lot of these things depend on what are you actually feeding onto your consumers. A lot of things depend on what are actually feeding onto your clients or your target audience, things like that. But our Indian companies are very smart enough. They know that our Indian audience don't care about it. They just want, what's the price tag? You tell me that. I don't care about who or where this is coming from. Just tell me
What's
what
the
it's
mileage?
charged. That's kitna deti hai, that sort of thing. So it's they have no idea about because that's the whole perception. That's how we have been taught. We have been born and brought up. So things are changing. I don't say that things are not changing. I don't say that India is like so behind these things, but there is a lot of more room for improvement.
Yes.
That is what I will say, because we have so many good talents in India, so many creative talents in India that we can do way better than the Western countries. I find that there's so much of potential. Even I speak from a designer's perspective. I know there are a lot of these designers who are so much talented, but just because of these circumstances, they really can't put it out there. They
Yes,
can't
yes.
put their work in place. So it's this mindset that the consumers and the ones those who are providing these sorts of things, both of us have to understand. Let's say, there's a movie, there's a very typical movie that comes out. Let's say the whole typical Bollywood style movie. We know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just the boy and girl. The boy likes the girl, and then the girl's father doesn't allow her to talk to that boy. The boy is from a poor family, and then the boy says that I love you so much. The girl says that I love you so much, and then the girl threatens her father that I'll run away with the boy if you don't allow me. Then the boy does things that makes girls. This is the whole typical idea
Yes.
of a Bollywood film. Let's say people produce that film, and that does like way good than a very good storyline, very good set, cast and actors and things like that. So if we as audience are really not going to appreciate that form of art, why would the people those who are really producing that form of art will care about it?
Yes.
So I think it works both ways. We as consumers and people those who are as clients, they need to understand that if they don't demand good work, how are people going to actually produce good work?
Yeah.
So the production and demand has to go equally together. So I don't know how is that going to happen. I don't know when is that going to happen, but I just know that this is what it matters, and things are changing, and I'm quite happy to see that there are a lot of these quality companies coming out, companies that prefer quality designs or quality products and things like that. So
Yes, I didn't know that
it's a
the Poppins font, one of the
yep,
most used font. I didn't know it was
yep,
done in India by Indian design
yeah,
foundry.
it
I was
was,
surprised
yeah,
when I saw it in Google that it is
yeah.
from India.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's by an Indian type foundry, and that's what I said. There are a lot of these things that we Indians are very good at. And the best part is that we are creative and we have that in us. It's just that we are not allowed to use it for its fullest potential.
Yeah. If
And
you
if you look at these tech companies and CEOs, they're all Indians, and somehow they've just cracked that code of
Yes.
getting a creative potential out, because that's the whole perspective. We have so much of potential, but we don't know how to use that potential unless and until we really spend time with ourselves, spend time owning our skills and really focusing on building that up. We can just do way more wonders than people in the world are
Yeah.
doing. So yeah, I think it's a two-way process. Hopefully there's a bright future ahead. I don't know.
Yes. Okay. A couple of quick fire questions before we close
Sure.
it out. So, as usual, I will have two options. You have to choose one of them. So
Cool.
let's start with the shape mark exploration or letter mark exploration.
A letter mark, that's my baby.
Okay. So as a designer, I don't know if this is a apt question. RGB or CMYK,
Obviously RGB.
and why? Like non-designers
Because I just love
should know about it.
there's not, I think it's personal preference. CMYK is more complicated, complex. RGB is so good to look at, and now things going digital, RGB is the way to go.
Okay. So if you didn't have Adobe products, like what would you have chosen to start your design?
Absolutely Affinity.
Okay.
And I'm looking, to be very honest, I'm looking ahead with Affinity because I'm fed up with the
Yeah.
subscription model that Adobe
We were
has.
talking
It's
about
quite,
that once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating, to be very
So
honest.
have
Adobe
you already
Sting.
started trying it out, Affinity, for iPad?
Not yet. I am planning to do that. I'm still looking for people, those who have used it, and getting reviews from them, and really
It's
making
very
sure
new.
that it's something that I can use or I can try out. So let's see how that goes.
So I understand that you use an iPhone, right?
Yep.
So if you had to pick one from the Android side, which phone would you have picked up?
I think I would have picked up right now the Fold. That's quite amazing. I think it's quite an interesting phone, the Galaxy Fold. Yeah, I would pick the
Galaxy Fold.
Galaxy Fold.
Oh, you went full on with this one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a gadget guy. I go full on. I spend my money on gadgets.
Let's come
That's
back.
just
Let's stick to a traditional one. If it was a traditional form factor, which one would you have choose?
I would say Google Pixel, because I think they have quite amazing
Cameras.
camera quality. So yeah, Google Pixel.
Google Pixel it is. Okay. So your favorite music genre? Do you listen to music?
I'm more into. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of music or something, but
Okay.
I do listen to music. I like Christian hip hops, and I listen to more of these lo-fi, chill beat songs and things like that. So that's my style
Okay.
of listening to music.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I have to ask you, recommend a YouTube channel, what would pop in your mind right at this moment?
MKBHD. I don't know if people,
Yes,
people
yes.
know this, but
Yes.
yeah.
MKBHD is so good.
The way he produces things, it's just a tech review, but the way he produces and presents these things are amazing. The effort that he puts in for just a YouTube video, that's the motivation that you should always have.
Quite crazy.
It's quite crazy, and the amount of dedication and effort he puts in just for a 5-minute video.
Yes.
And that's the presentation and things. He shoots in a red camera that's 8K compatible.
Yeah, it does. We
It's
don't even
just for
need that.
YouTube,
We
right?
watch in
Yeah.
480p on YouTube.
That's what I'm saying. So the way he dedicates his things, and I would say Matt Diavola, if people have not heard of it, it's a very amazing YouTube channel. Look out for that guy. And Ali Abdal,
Okay.
that's also a YouTube channel, and Thomas Frank. Because I mentioned I am a productivity geek, so these are the channels that I always go up to.
Okay.
So yeah,
And,
these channels I would.
And similar from Instagram, whom would you recommend?
Instagram accounts. Oh, there are a lot of Instagram accounts.
We can just settle with three. We can just settle with three.
Yeah.
Top
so designer's perspective.
No, it doesn't
I
need
would
to
say-
be a designer's perspective. It can be like your.
I don't spend
favorite.
I don't spend my time other than using it for design things.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's anything I would suggest other than design things on Instagram.
Okay.
I think you should follow Bless Creatics. Quite amazing.
Yes, you should definitely. Anyone listening should definitely.
Jokes apart. I think Michael Janda, if you know Michael Janda, he's an amazing guy who is providing a lot of these free resources for freelancers. It's not just for design,
Okay.
but for freelancers. He has a course going on, but he's providing a lot of these free resources on Instagram. So Michael Janda, look out for him. Amazing stuff out there. A lot of value.
Okay.
And then Pitch Proof, it's a community
Yes,
that
yes.
hosts conferences and things for designers. So I would say Pitch Proof.
Okay.
And third, I don't know, I would say if you're asking for top 3, because I'm trying my best not to keep my recommendations for designers and more for freelancers or creatives.
Yes.
I would say, let's say Tom Ross. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He's also someone who, so he owns Design Cuts.
Okay.
Design Cuts, it's a website.
Okay.
So he owns that. So yeah, Tom Ross, Michael Janda, and Pitch Proof.
Okay. And
No preference or things, but I think they provide good value.
yeah, sure. And yeah, the last one. If you had to choose between a MacBook Pro with a Wacom tablet or the highest end
Let's
iPad.
don't go there. I would just choose MacBook Pro like 100% over anything else.
No, I'm saying from a design perspective, like MacBook Pro with a Wacom tablet or an iPad Pro, the highest end, with all the facilities like your Bluetooth keyboard and Apple Pencil. So which one would you choose? If you had to stick
I
with
still
one
think
of this
there's
forever.
a lot to go with iPad Pro because it doesn't has Adobe Illustrator and things like that. But I've heard that Adobe Illustrator is coming on iPad.
Yeah, and Affinity is
Because a
already
lot of
present
people,
on iPad.
yeah, so it's already there.
Yeah.
So in that case, but I do love the laptop thing, because it gets me in the work mode. But I know it's because of the personal preference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if these softwares are available on iPad Pro, why not? It makes total sense to go ahead with iPad Pro.
Okay. Okay, thank you very
Yep.
much for being a guest,
No problem,
being the
man.
very first guest on
Yeah.
this series. I hope we have another one in
I
the
feel
future.
honored.
Yeah. Any last
Great.
words you would say to anyone who is listening right now? Any creative who is starting?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me. That was quite an amazing, conversation, and I hope that people get the value other than the long blabbers that I did. People get some sort of value.
It's okay.
From that.
We all do that. It's
Yeah.
very good. No, it's natural. It's not scripted. It's natural.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So something that I would say is always believe in yourself, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of potential that all of us have, and we just need to understand that and realize that we have what it takes. We just need to tap in that potential, and just get going with things, and always believe in yourself and work hard. There is no other substitute to working hard. There's no shortcut to anything, and more than that, just live life to the fullest. That's all I can say. If you don't enjoy doing anything, just don't worry about things that matter to others, or if that's what people are doing. If you don't enjoy it, just there's no point of doing things.
Yeah.
So yeah, believe in yourself, work hard, and live life to your fullest.
Yes. Don't get stuck in the 9 to 5 job. Just don't do your
yeah.
job.
Sometimes if that's what makes you happy, just go for it. Why not? Like, just
No, I'm saying like
if that's what makes you
don't
happy.
do work from 9 to 9. Like come back home. You have your family. Go and enjoy with your friends.
Yeah.
No need to
Yeah,
be employee
absolutely.
of the month.
Be grateful for things, these
Yeah.
there's absolutely
Yeah.
no sense of
Yes.
aiming for that.
Yes.
Really.
Anyways, thanks a lot. And to
No
my
problem.
listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, do not forget to give a follow and go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review if any one of you is even listening on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.